guys, my name is Marisha Agarwal and I'm back with another video. So in today's video, I'm actually going to talk about my first year and first week experiences after moving to the city of Groningen. In fact, this is the exact same couch where I was when I first got my admission decree letter. So in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys a couple of my first week stories, and I'm also going to give you a couple of tips for you to keep in mind once you move here. So at the top of my head, the very first story that comes to mind is actually me being a part of the ESN group. It was one whole week worth of basically introduction week, which was non-academically related. It was a lot of fun because we got to see the city through a different perspective. And that's also where I made my very first and closest friends. Most memorable story was that whenever we used to go for dinner as a group, our group leader was the only boy, and the only way he would get our attention was by taking our phones away. And what we do was we'd place all the phones at the end of the table and stack them up during the entire meal. If whoever picks up their phone first has to pay for the entire group. And we were a group of like 15 girls with large appetites. So it was really funny to see how all the girls were trying not to touch their phones. And my tip would be to sign up for the ESN week as soon as possible, and preferably before you actually move to the city. But if you don't manage to go for the ESN week, there's something else called the Kai week, which is also another option. So talking about the city, I actually ended up coming to the city 2 weeks prior to classes starting. And I was just walking around the city center just so that exploring on my own, and I accidentally joined a free walking tour, which is very interesting because that was the very first week I was in the city. And that was the only time actually that I climbed the entire Martini Tower all the way to the top, and the view was breathtaking because you could see the entire city and everything looked so cute and so beautiful because the Dutch architecture is so nice. And yeah, that was my most memorable part of my first week because I actually saw the entire city without actually knowing the city, and it was really interesting. But the tip to give you guys is that there are a lot more such free walking tours and paid walking tours, or biking tours for a matter of fact, which you can find them at the www, or you could also find them on Facebook on a bunch of like sites and ads and groups. So yeah, you should definitely check that out because it's really helpful, especially if you're coming on your own. Now for me, I stayed in the SSH, which is actually a shared accommodation. So for me, I was a bit hesitant going into a completely unfurnished house on my own, especially in the first year. So what I highly appreciated from the SSH was that they gave us students a €50 worth package, which included bedding and basic kitchen essentials. And I think that was really helpful for me, especially because it's kind of like a Kickstarter package and saved a lot of my time and effort, especially in the first couple of weeks, as the first year was really intense. And I think that's what really helped me build my confidence, especially with living in a shared accommodation for the very first time. But my number one tip would be for you guys to sign up for the companies like SSH or Lefeer way in advance, because for us, if we actually signed up early in advance, but on May 1st when things opened up, it was gone within the first 30 minutes. I had to choose with how I want to live it for the next year without actually going to the city, checking the place out in person, just all by photographs. So another really interesting story is that I actually faced 3 bike accidents in the first 3 weeks of actually moving to the city. And that's mainly because here in India, we actually drive on the other side of the road. So for me, it took me quite some time to get used to driving on the right than on the left. And that was really confusing, but at the same time, I kind of learned the hard way, literally, because I had so many accidents. But that brings me to my next tip, is that registering with the medical company, with the bank, and the hospital, and the government city hall. And all these actually are very tedious processes because there are 20,000 students who come in every year, and the time to take and process each and every student is so long. If you can come earlier, that would be great because there is a long queue. So I found it personally very tedious and very confusing, and I would have loved to have somebody help me out. And lastly, because it is obviously a university themed video, I have to talk a little bit about the university. So it turns out that I was actually in a third year physics classroom when I was supposed to be in my first year chemical engineering introduction class. And that's only because I had no idea how the balloons were numbered. However, it wasn't that bad because when I was in the third year physics class, there were other students around me who obviously recognized me as not their classmate, and they really helped me around the building and taught me how the numbering system works. So that's another tip I'd like to give you, is that if you're lost, ask around. It's completely understandable because you're just one out of 30,000 students or more who are equally lost in the building, running around looking for your classrooms, and don't worry, it's okay because everyone is equally lost, equally nervous and excited. Another really funny story that I remember from our very first lecture was that our teacher had given us a practice question. You could basically use your phone to answer the question, but what we did was, because it was an open-ended box, we, instead of answering the question, said hi messages on the board. So it flashed up on the screen and there was a bunch of people saying, hi, I'm from so-and-so country. It was so funny, and the lecturer kind of had a good laugh, but after a point he just shut down the entire activity. And yeah, we really had a good laugh. So this brings me to the end of the video, and I really hope you guys liked and laughed along to my stories. And I'm really interested to see what you guys' experiences were in the first week, if they were equally funny or if they were more serious. Let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Until next time, bye!